What's up? What's up? What's up? So, today I want to talk about gun triggers. And to get it started, these are both clear. Nothing in here. Clear. Nothing in here. Okay, first of all, I got some comments in one of my videos talking about certain guns I have ain't worth putting the trigger in. I should put it on more expensive guns. Now my thing about that is, if I wanted to, I can put a new trigger on all my guns if I wanted to. But if I'm comfortable with the trigger that comes with the gun, I'm gonna leave it. Just like the G3C, the G3, GX4 series. You know, if I like the trigger, it's gonna stay like that. But if I see a gun like these two that I have, that I see potential in, but the only flaw is I don't like the trigger, then I'm gonna change the trigger in these guns. Now, not to say that, there's nothing wrong with changing the trigger if you think of it. If your firearm got a good trigger and you just want a better trigger, there's nothing wrong with that. Me personally, I feel like if the stock trigger is good, why change it? Me personally. I mean, other people might have different thoughts about that, but if I like the stock trigger, it's staying there. So, get started. These was the two triggers I did change on my G2C. I know y'all ain't seen this one in a while or heard anybody carrying a G2C. I don't really carry this one anymore, but talk about a G2C. But I liked the trigger on the G3C, but I didn't like the trigger on the G2C. So I changed that out. And it's kind of similar to the G3C. I didn't like how the stock G2C kind of set further back. It set it like back here. But this one kind of stick out a little more like the G3C. Now, I will say, to do these jobs on these guns, you're going to have knowledge of not just field stripping it, but knowledge on changing springs, knowledge on how to take apart stuff that's on the inside of it. Because to the uncommon person who don't do stuff like this and build and fix on firearms, they won't know what they're doing. Now, not to say I'm a gunsmith or not. I'm far from it. But I always been the type of person that like to tinker with things. I always been the person that like to take apart stuff and see how it works. So, to tell you the truth, the reason I knew how to do this gun, because literally a day after I got it, I literally took apart this whole gun. Not just the slide, literally everything. So, and I studied it, put it back together. And then about a week later, oh no, it was about a month later, I went and ordered the trigger because I already knew how to take it down. This was pretty easy to do on this gun. Very easy to do. This G2C was the most difficult trigger change I ever done on a firearm. Well, I only did two, but it was difficult doing this one. Because it's so many springs in here, so many. It's so many stuff that got to be taken out in here. Really? Oh, God. Okay, I got to clean this. I haven't shot in this in ages, and I have to clean this. But don't get on me about that, Tay. Yeah, got a lot of carbon. I cleaned majority of my guns, but this one. But like I said, I don't really shoot this one, but I do need to clean it. But anyway, going back to that, it's a lot of springs in here to take out. Also, you're gonna need a punch kit and the knowledge of how these firearms work. It is YouTube videos on doing that, but like I said, if you're not used to building things or putting together things, this is gonna look intimidating. It's gonna look intimidating to try to do this on your first attempt. Not gonna lie. When I first did it, I'm like, what the hell I got myself into after I took the thing apart. But the more you do it, the better you get. Now, like I said, this wasn't too hard to change. This was very easy to change on this one. Now, I kind of had thoughts of doing my, you know what, I'm just going to leave this off because I'm going to have to clean this after this video because I don't like that. If I was going to do another trigger change, I probably would do my TH9C. I don't really like the trigger on that. It's okay, but I feel like it can be better. So if I did have to do one, it would probably be that gun. Also, at the same time, the reason why I don't do trigger changes on all my guns. I'm sorry, I gotta put this back together. I'll clean it later. But the reason I don't do trigger change on all my guns is because I only do it on the guns I carry. Like this gun and well, at the time, before I got the G3C and all that, I was carrying this G2C. I was carrying this all the time. So, this is my EDC. But I wanted the trigger to be better because I didn't like this safety release right here because it stuck in too much. And it just didn't feel right, you know? So I changed the trigger on there. But then I got the G3C when it dropped. Okay, so rewind. I had the full size G3, but I wanted something that was smaller. So I went and got the G2C. So I went and got this one. And I was carrying this every day as my EDC. But I just didn't like the trigger on there. Everything else, you know, it's the same as the G3C. I just didn't like the trigger. So, and after having a G3, I wanted a trigger similar to that one. So I would say with that being changed now, it is kind of similar to it, but it's not exactly like a G3C or a G3 trigger. But it's close enough, and it's acceptable for me. I like this gun, but I didn't like how the trigger mooned out all the way up here and causing the pull to go back further to the back wall. I mean, like I said in my previous videos, the pull, it still got a heavy pull on the trigger, but it breaks much sooner. So when I click it, because of the way the trigger is shaped, it kind of got a slant instead of that moon. So it breaks more quicker. This one, the trigger, the safety press in more smoothly than the stock G2C. So when I press it in, it feel more flush with it. Here, the G2C stock safety, it just didn't feel right. You know, it just, when I pressed it, it felt like it left a dent in my finger. I just didn't like the way it feel. Like, it didn't moon out like this. See how that moon out like a Glock? It didn't. The stock one don't do that. it's more of a straight line. I just didn't like the way that feel. So yeah, so the only reason I change the trigger is on something I usually carry if I don't like if I like the gun, I like everything about it, but only thing I don't like is the trigger, then yes, I will change the trigger. But at the same time, if you're going to do that, you're going to have a little knowledge of how to completely break down a firearm. I don't mean just a slide. I mean completely break down the insides too. And know how to put together the springs and everything back together. Because, anybody can break that down. And, change the striker and all that. But when you get into this, you need to know what you're doing. This is a lot of moving springs in there. Yes, I know I need to clean it. I'm going to do that after this video. It's been 2 years since I shot in this, and it's been sitting in my safe, and I forgot to clean this. I uncleaned all my other firearms, but this one, because this is the one I don't shoot that much. It's been a long time since I shot this, but anyway, you're gonna have to have knowledge of taking all these springs apart, knowing like the lifters and all that. You need to know about that before you just jump into it and changing these triggers. At least have some form of knowledge of it. So I'm officially going to leave this out because I'm about to clean this and this is bothering me. So that's my little rant about the triggers on my gun. So 2 guns that I changed. Alright, so stay tuned to the next. Oh, before I leave, no, it springs in there too. So going down into the trigger. So you're gonna have to know all about that before you just go tearing this down. Alright, to the next one.